The storm arrives before nightfall. It rolls over the mountains without warning, a wall of white swallowing the narrow road behind them, erasing tracks, sound, and certainty in a matter of minutes. Snow drives sideways, thick and relentless, turning torches into useless smears of orange against the dark. By the time they reach the keep, her fingers are numb, her breath shallow, and her cloak stiff with ice. Inside, the Duke orders. Not sharply, not loudly, with the calm authority of a man who understands that hesitation costs lives. The gate slams shut behind them, the sound swallowed almost immediately by the wind. The keep is old, older than most maps still acknowledge, its stones thick enough to hold warmth long after fires die. Torches flare along the inner wall as soldiers move to bar shutters and secure doors. She sways slightly as the heat hits her. The Duke's hand closes around her arm at once. Not pulling, not restraining, holding. Steady, he says. I am, she replies automatically, though her legs argue otherwise. He does not release her immediately. His grip remains firm, assessing as if measuring how close she is to falling. You've been exposed too long, he says. Iva indurgves. He glances down at her then. Not her face, but her hands, pale and trembling despite her words. Yes, he agrees. But not tonight. The soldiers disperse quickly, boots echoing away into the corridors. Someone calls out that the pass is gone, collapsed under snow and rock. Another voice confirms what they already know. No one is leaving before morning, perhaps longer. The Duke releases her arm at last, but only to shrug off his cloak and drape it over her shoulders without asking. The fabric is heavy, lined with fur, still warm from his body. She stiffens. I don't need. You do, he interrupts, already turning away. And you won't argue about it. The finality in his voice silences her. She adjusts the cloak reluctantly, the weight of it settling around her, heat returning to her skin in slow waves. The hall is sparsely furnished, long tables, benches, a roaring hearth at one end. The storm howls outside, rattling shutters, testing stone. A captain approaches, helm tucked under his arm. Rooms are limited, my lord, he says. Most are already occupied. We weren't expecting. I know, the Duke replies. See that the men are fed and kept warm. And the lady? The question hangs for a fraction of a second too long. The Duke's gaze flicks to her. Not asking, not seeking permission. Calculating. She'll take the solar, he says. I'll remain nearby. Nearby. Not with. The captain nods and withdraws. She turns toward the Duke, lowering her voice. That's unnecessary. No, he says calmly. It's practical. So is distance. Not in this weather. The solar is warmer than the hall, smaller, shielded from the wind. A fire crackles steadily, its glow soft against stone walls. There is a narrow bed, heavy with woolen blankets, clearly meant for one person. She stops just inside the doorway. There's only one bed, she says. Yes. And you're aware of that? Yes. She turns to face him fully. Then you should give me the room and take the corridor. That would be foolish. And sharing it wouldn't be? We're not sharing it, he replies. You're using it. And you. I'll keep watch. She studies him, searching for something, provocation perhaps. She finds none. You don't sleep, she says. I do, he replies. When necessary. And this isn't? He pauses, then answers honestly. Not yet. She exhales slowly. You're very certain. I'm very cold, he corrects, gesturing toward her hands. And so are you. She looks down. Despite the cloak, her fingers still tremble faintly. You should change, he continues. Those clothes are soaked. I didn't pack 4. There are linens, he says. And blankets. And you'll stand guard while I'll turn my back. She raises an eyebrow. How chivalrous. How effective, he replies. She hesitates only a moment before nodding. The storm outside makes the decision for her. He turns away without another word, facing the door, posture relaxed but alert. She moves quickly, shedding damp layers, wrapping herself in a dry shift and woolen wrap. The warmth of the room seeps into her bones slowly, painfully. You can turn around, she says when she's finished. He does. His gaze flicks to her face, then away again, disciplined to a fault. You should lie down, he says. I'm not a child. No, he agrees. But you are exhausted. She crosses to the bed and sits, then lies back, pulling the blankets up to her shoulders. The fire pops softly, the only sound beyond the storm. You're still standing, she observes. Yes. And you're going to stay that way. Yes. She watches him from beneath the covers, the way his shadow stretches across the wall, the way the firelight catches in his hair. The room feels smaller now, more intimate, the awareness between them sharpening. You're shivering again, he says after a moment. I'll warm. Eventually. He steps closer to the fire, then hesitates. His gaze moves to the bed, to the space beside her. She sees the calculation before he speaks. The blankets are thick, he says carefully, but not enough if your body temperature drops. She stiffens. I don't need you to. This is not about need, he says quietly. It's about survival. Her pulse quickens. You said we wouldn't share the bed. I said you would use it, he replies. I didn't say I wouldn't ensure you stayed warm. Silence stretches between them, heavy and charged. You're very direct, she says. I don't indulge ambiguity when the stakes are physical, he replies. And if I say no, then I'll keep the fire roaring and hope it's enough. And if it isn't, his jaw tightens slightly, then I will have failed. The honesty disarms her. She shifts beneath the blankets, considering the fire, the stone walls, the storm that shows no sign of easing. How close? She asks quietly. Enough to share heat, he replies. No more. And you'll leave when I asked. Yes. She closes her eyes briefly, then opens them again. Very well, she says. He moves then, deliberately, removing his boots, his outer garments, laying them aside with care. He does not rush. He does not look at her longer than necessary. When he lies down beside her, he keeps a careful distance at first, a narrow space between them. The warmth is immediate. Too immediate. She exhales sharply, the contrast almost overwhelming. You're colder than I thought, he murmurs. So are you. He adjusts the blankets, drawing them higher, sealing in heat. His arm comes around her, not tight, not possessive, resting along her back with controlled restraint. This is temporary, he says. Yes, she replies. And necessary. Yes. The storm rages on outside, relentless. Inside, neither of them sleeps. She becomes acutely aware of his breathing, slow and steady, of the warmth of his body pressed along her side, of how natural it feels despite everything. You said by morning, she murmurs. Yes. And if the storm doesn't pass? He does not answer immediately. If it doesn't, he says finally, we'll reassess. The word hangs between them. Reassess. She shifts slightly, the movement bringing her closer despite herself. His arm tightens instinctively, then stills. You're still here, she whispers. Yes. And you're not neutral anymore. No, he admits. The honesty sends a shiver through her that has nothing to do with cold. The storm howls. The fire burns low. And as the night stretches on, she understands with quiet certainty. They were forced to share his bed for warmth. By morning, nothing will be neutral. Morning does not arrive cleanly. It creeps in through the narrow windows as a thin, colorless light, dulled by snow and cloud, offering no warmth. Only proof that time has moved on without asking permission. The storm has not passed. If anything, it has settled in. The wind no longer shrieking but pressing steadily against stone, patient and relentless. She wakes first. Not abruptly, not startled, but aware. The warmth that had been merely practical in the night has become something else in sleep. Her body has shifted without her noticing, instinctively seeking heat, proximity, steadiness. She is closer to him now, her back pressed against his chest, his arm curved securely around her waist. Not restraining, not tentative, present. For a moment she does not move. She listens instead, to the fire's low crackle, to the wind outside, to the slow, even rhythm of his breathing behind her. His chin rests near her temple, close enough that she can feel the faint warmth of his breath against her hair. This is not how she fell asleep. She remembers that clearly. She should pull away. The thought comes sensible and immediate. She doesn't act on it. Instead, she tests the moment with something smaller. A subtle shift of her shoulders, a slight adjustment of her legs beneath the blankets. His arm tightens reflexively, drawing her closer by a fraction before he stills. He is awake. She knows it without turning. You moved, he says quietly. So did you, she replies. Yes. The acknowledgement is calm, unembarrassed. I didn't ask you to hold me, she says. No. And yet here you are. Yes. She turns her head just enough to look at him. His eyes are open, dark in the low light, focused not on her body but on her face. You didn't push away, he says. No. That changed the terms. The words are careful, deliberate. What terms, she asks. The ones we agreed to, he replies. Heat, survival, distance. And now, he says quietly, you're choosing proximity. Her pulse quickens but she keeps her voice steady. Or I'm still cold. That was true last night, he agrees. It isn't now. She can't deny it. The warmth between them is complete, enveloping. Her fingers curl slightly against the blanket at her chest. You should move, she says. Yes. You're not going to. No. She studies him for a long moment. You're very certain of yourself this morning. I'm very aware of you, he corrects. The distinction matters more than she wants it to. She shifts again, this time deliberately, turning within the narrow space of the bed until she faces him. The blanket slides, settling around them both. Their knees brush. His arm adjusts automatically, settling at her waist again. Not claiming but not releasing. This closeness is no longer accidental. You said by morning, she says softly. I said we would reassess. And have you? Yes. And the storm has worsened, he replies. The pass is still blocked. We are not leaving today. Her chest tightens, not with fear but with something more complex. So we remain. Yes. In the same room. Yes. In the same bed. He pauses just long enough for the answer to matter. If you wish, he says. The restraint in that offer is unmistakable. She exhales slowly. You're very careful not to command. I don't command where consent matters. That's new. No, he replies. It's simply not often tested. She looks away briefly, then back again. And if I ask you to leave? I will. And if I don't? I will stay. The simplicity of it is disarming. She shifts closer again. Not pressing, not clinging, just closing the remaining space. The heat between them intensifies, no longer something to be ignored. You're warm, she murmurs. So are you. Yes. Her hand lifts hesitantly, hovering for a moment between them before resting lightly against his chest. She feels the steady strength there, the controlled rise and fall of his breath. He does not move. You didn't stop me, she says. No. And you didn't pull me closer. No. But you're ready to. Yes. The honesty sends a quiet shiver through her. This is becoming dangerous, she says. Yes. And you're not pretending otherwise. No. She studies his face. The calm resolve, the absence of hunger, the unmistakable presence of desire held firmly in check. You could have taken advantage, she says. I could have, he agrees. And you didn't. No. Why? Because, he replies evenly. What happens next matters. Her hand presses a little more firmly against his chest. It already does, she says. Yes. They remain like that for a long moment, neither speaking, neither moving beyond what has already been allowed. Eventually, she withdraws her hand and sits up slightly, drawing the blankets closer around herself. He mirrors the movement, propping himself up as well, giving her space without leaving the bed. The household will notice, she says. Yes. Sharing a room. Yes. Sharing a bed. Yes. You don't care. I care very much, he replies. That's why I'm not careless. She looks at him sharply. And what does careful look like now? It looks like honesty, he says. And patience. She scoffs softly. You're very good at patience. Yes. And you expect me to match it. I expect nothing. he corrects. I invite. The fire flares softly as if responding. She swings her legs over the side of the bed, standing slowly. The cold nips at her skin immediately, the absence of his warmth stark. He rises as well, draping a blanket around her shoulders without hesitation. You're doing that again, she says. Yes. Not asking. No. But you're not forcing. No. She turns to face him, the blanket clutched at her chest. If we continue like this, she says quietly, it won't remain neutral. No, he agrees. It won't. And when it changes, truly changes, it will be irreversible. Yes. The word settles between them, heavy and real. She searches his face one last time. You're prepared for that. Yes. And you won't step back when it matters. No. She nods once, decision not yet made but direction set. Then we need to be clear, she says. Yes. This isn't just about the storm. No. And it's not just understanding. No. She meets his gaze squarely. It's about what happens when we choose this. Yes. The clarity steadies her. Very well, she says softly. Then don't pretend this is still temporary. He inclines his head slightly. I wasn't planning to. Outside, the storm presses on, indifferent to their reckoning. Inside, the air between them has shifted. No longer cautious, no longer purely restrained. Not yet surrendered. But moving undeniably, towards something neither of them will step away from again. By the third night, the storm has changed character. No longer rages. It endures. Snow piles against the outer walls in quiet drifts, heavy and unmoving, as if the mountain itself has decided they are meant to remain exactly where they are. The wind has softened into a constant low presence, a reminder rather than a threat. Inside the keep, routines have formed. Meals are shared in the hall. Guards rotate with discipline. Fires are fed regularly. The household adapts, not with panic but with patience. And still they do not separate. No announcement is made. No explanation offered. The solar remains occupied. The narrow bed remains shared. What changes is not proximity. It is intention. The third night arrives without negotiation. She enters the room after supper to find him already there. Cloak removed, fire burning low and steady. He looks up when she closes the door, his gaze settling on her with the same controlled attention as always. You're late, he says. You weren't waiting, she replies. Yes, he corrects. I was. The admission is simple. It lands anyway. She removes her outer layers slowly, deliberately, not to entice, not to test, but because there is no longer a reason to rush. The room is warm. The air is familiar. This isn't about the storm anymore, she says quietly. No, he agrees. And you're not pretending otherwise. No. She crosses the room and sits on the edge of the bed, posture composed. He remains standing, watching her, not hungrily, not possessively, but with attention that does not withdraw. We've avoided calling this anything, she continues. Yes. And that's been useful. Yes. But if we continue, she says, lifting her gaze to his, we don't get to pretend it's circumstance. No, he says. We would be choosing. The word settles between them, heavy and unmistakable. She nods once. Then say it. He doesn't ask what she means. This is no longer about warmth, he says evenly, or shelter, or necessity. And, she presses. And I want you here, he finishes. With me. Not because you must. Silence fills the room. Not strained, not uncertain. She stands. The movement is small, but it closes the last distance between them. She stops directly in front of him, close enough that the heat between their bodies blends. I won't be an accident, she says. I wouldn't allow that, he replies. And I won't be something you explain away later. I don't explain away what I intend to keep, he says. The steadiness of his voice matters more than any promise. She studies his face, searching for hesitation. She finds none. Then don't hold back now, she says quietly. I won't, he replies. But I won't rush you either. Her breath catches, not from fear but from recognition. This is where you usually stop, she murmurs. Yes. And you won't. No. She lifts her hand slowly, deliberately, and places it against his chest again. This time not testing, not tentative. Choosing. His hand rises immediately, settling at her waist, firm and present. The contact is unmistakable now, no longer restrained to the edge of propriety. "You're certain," he says. "Yes. And you won't regret this when morning comes." "No." He leans his forehead lightly against hers, not claiming her mouth, not breaking the moment, but grounding it. "Then stay," he says. She doesn't answer with words. She steps closer. The night unfolds without spectacle. No urgency. No loss of control. Only alignment. They move together with the quiet certainty of two people who understand exactly what they are choosing and why. When they lie down, it is not because of cold or exhaustion, but because neither of them intends to remain standing any longer. By morning, the storm has finally broken. Sunlight spills pale and clean through the narrow window, illuminating snow piled high against the stone. The world newly still. The silence feels different now, not oppressive but resolved. She wakes with her head resting against his shoulder, his arms secure around her. This time there is no startle, no reassessment, only awareness. "You're awake," he says quietly. "Yes. And you're still here." "Yes." He exhales slowly, the sound almost a laugh. "Good." She shifts slightly, lifting herself just enough to look at him. "The pass will open today." "Yes. And people will notice." "Yes. They already do," she says. "Yes." She considers him for a moment. "You're not concerned." "I'm attentive," he replies. "There's a difference." She smiles faintly. "You're very consistent." "I try to be," he says. They rise together, dress without hurry, the ease between them unmistakable. When they step into the hall later, the household pauses, not in shock, not in scandal, but in quiet acknowledgement. The Duke walks beside her. Not behind, not ahead. With her. No explanation is offered. None is needed. By afternoon, the road is cleared enough for departure. Horses are readied. Cloaks distributed. The world resumes. At the gate she pauses. "This was not how I planned to be delayed," she says. "No," he agrees. "Nor I. And yet," she adds, turning to face him, "I wouldn't undo it." "Nor would I," he replies. She studies him one last time, then nods. "Then this continues." "Yes. Not because of the storm. No. Because we chose it." "Yes." He offers his arm. Not possessively, not ceremoniously. She takes it. They pass through the gate together. The keep settling back into stillness behind them. The storm is gone. The necessity has ended. What remains is not neutrality. It is intention. And neither of them ever pretends otherwise again.